Steve can explain the EIS process better.
Back when the notice is sent to every shoreline management permit holder.
Everybody we knew, if you have a dock with us or a mowing permit, they mail them out to you.
I would have to say on the wildest dreams, and I've been here 36 years, that we anticipate a 45-foot buffer zone. No one would have ever thought of that, and that you couldn't mow. And secondly, I just went through this plan again on my iPad. I don't see the word 45 in there anywhere on this. So I'll get back to the desk and somebody show me where that's at.
We'll do that. I'm there. I knew I saw a hand over here, sir.
So if I got a dock and I want to add to it, as long as it's 75 feet between that and the next dock, it'll be fine.
There's lots of parameters, and the answer to your question is, I probably need to coordinate with the office. I'm not in the system.
Because I talked to once, they said something about a 50-50 range of dock ratio or something.
50% of the code can be occupied by docks and no more.
Yeah, by regulation, only 50% of the code is allowed to be.
But they're going to calculate that on that screen we can see on Google Earth. Those maps that are online, hand me those maps again. Big map. These maps here are what you see online, the ones with all the different colors. And we did that intentionally. There's multiple colors on there. So this helps us locate approximately where you are. Then when you come to the office, we use the Google Earth and we can zoom right down on the dock. And those measurement devices that Charlie's talking about, right down to about a centimeter. Can we get that close? About 1 centimeter? So that's a big help in the technology of what we used to have in 1975, where we did it on the back of a clipboard and a grease pencil and measured it with a tape. So that's part of this overall update to the shoreline management plan to make the lake better for everybody. Not just property owners, but everybody.
Well, does it matter, like, if the boat dock's sitting out here and the next boat dock's sitting up here closer to the shore, does it still, on your measurement, would you measure from here to here, or would it be from here to the next boat dock sitting way out here like this?
We're going to have to see us back here at the dock table. We'll go over that. I'm not up to speed on the
Yeah,
tech.
some of these questions are being really specific. We have general questions, otherwise we're going to pretty soon.
You mentioned the mail out. Some items were mailed out. I missed what you said was mailed out to the dock.
Well, the only record we have at any lake, whether you're at Tenfield or Fort Gibson or Lake Texoma, the only record we have of who the property owners are is if you have a private boat dock with us,
Right.
or a mowing permit. That's it.
Now what-
We don't maintain property lists. We're not allowed to.
I wanted to know what you said was
Okay.
mailed out to the owners. To those
That's
people.
what we tried to do. We mailed these notices out to the owner of record of those docks.
Well, no one in my area over there, over 100 people, have ever received any of those.
Been about 2011.
And what?
2011.
Was the last time anything was
When
mailed
we
out?
started, we've been on this for 3 years. Yeah. We can show you the list if you want to see who we mailed it to. That list is only as good as what we have on record. Ma'am,
So what you're saying is the last time we paid for our mowing permit, that was the paperwork we had. And now you're having a new one? Because I thought that if you had a mowing permit, you could mow, you say from the foreland.
That mowing permit that you were issued the last time is good until its expiration date.
Okay.
When that permit expires, that's when the new 45-foot buffer. We did that in an attempt so that from 2013 till 2018, it's a gradual approach towards the buffer zone instead of just all at once.
in a lot of cases, it's been our experience in lots and lots of cases. All of you all sitting out here in front of us, a lot of your specific individual things will have an individual specific answer because the shoreline goes all over the place for 800 miles. So that's the importance of looking at our bigger map down here. If you need an appointment over at the lake and you're going to come meet with the ranger, we do that. And if we're still not clear on it, we'll go out to the property. That's how we do these things. We've done this for many, many years. And I will tell you this, where's Karen at? Karen, is it still fairly reasonable to say that lake property changes about every 6 to 7 years? Did you all realize that? And I know Karen's done this a long, long time. And it changes 6 to 7 years for lots and lots of reasons. The big change going on now, Frank and I laugh at this all the time, the baby boomers are moving back more where there's better health care, better public transportation or whatever, and the kids and the grandkids are buying these homes, property, boat docks, and so forth. So we're in a constant state of flux of figuring out who owns what out there. Who owns what? What permit? Sometimes it's in a court battle, it's in a probate court. So it's a constant battle for us to keep up with just the boat docks. It really is. We have, Jeff, how many docks?
We have over 1,500, I can't remember the specifics. We have 1,900 water or mowing permits.
Plus, and the other gee whiz figure is, in this current shoreline management plan that we've just issued, there is an approximate, how many more dock permits that could be issued?
There's roughly 6,000.
There's 6,000 more potential open spots for docks.
Which the projection is over 60 years, not to do that.
For 60 more years. It may not be your favorite place, but there's room out there. I mean, we didn't shut the gate on docks. I'll get you next, ma'am.
I do have a question about mowing permit accountability. I think I heard you say, there's a lot of rambles back here, but I think I heard you say there's 1,900 mowing permits.
Yes.
And, how do you audit the mowing permits? Because when we got ours renewed, we had to go back and ask where it was and all that. It was sitting on somebody's desk. I realize you only have 11 people or whatever, and then the gal said, boy, we want to thank you for renewing your permit because most people don't. Is there going to be how are we going to be held accountable for these rules?
Well, we do that now at the time of expiration. So, in theory, permits are good for 5 years. 20% of them a year are going to get reviewed as they roll around.
And it is a challenge. You are right, ma'am. It is a challenge just to keep up with them. As I said, property's always changing hands, or someone else is living there with no agreement at all. So it's ma'am.
How tall is this 45 foot wide?
Well, my biological answer is whatever comes up there that is native vegetation, and you are allowed to clip off the more 1 inch and below, 3 inches in diameter, you can cut that off. So my familiarization with eufaula, it's maybe some places it'll be at your knee, some of it will only be at your ankle. Not a lot of it's going to be at your waist.
But you'd be walking down in that with the critters and all to get that?
With a path through there, 6-foot path. Can. Yeah, that's not changed since back in the 70s. I wrote this one, I'm not right.
Hang on.
So is this
Hang on, let's get her question, Jeff. Sorry, go ahead, Laura, I'm sorry.
Is this starting immediately, or is there going to be a time that it's going to start?
The buffer zone, like I was saying a little bit earlier, it started immediately for new permit applications after the EIS was finished. And then as permits expire through 2018, when they expire, they have to renew the buffer zone. Let me read you an excerpt out of the shoreline management plan. Shoreline vegetation buffer. The shoreline vegetation buffer is a strip of land between the shoreline and private property where only limited trimming of trees and shrubs is allowed. This area was established to reduce erosion, improve water quality, and provide suitable habitat for native wildlife. Modification of grass and non-woody vegetation is prohibited. Trees and other woody vegetation within the shoreline vegetated buffer may be trimmed in accordance with the tree trimming guidelines of the permit. So what that means is the grass has to stay, the trees and the brush can still continue to be trimmed.
You keep saying that it starts when this EPA or whatever it is. What date is that?
It'd be, I don't know, June of 2013, I'm not sure of the exact date.
So that would be the date that this 45-foot buffer should have started and been initiated.
For any new applications, yes.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
How many of you guys live on the lake?
I live here, Port Landing, I live right on the water, I used to.
Where do you live
But I said, it's about all of the users of Lake Eufaula, not just the property owners. It can't be that way. The agency is required to manage it for the greater populace of the United States, all federally funded by tax dollars. So we are trying to do the right thing environmentally, and also, for those of you who do live here, we do. I mean, I can stand on my 40 years of doing this, and I've done many of these public meetings, as you can tell, in this community. I mean, I think the only person I don't see here tonight is Al Walker, who's been to every one of them for 45 years. Sir, in the back.
He's selling out.
What if your dock is in front of a parking lot for a ramp? Does the buffer zone apply for that also? Like my walkway goes right up to the parking lot, and there's a boat ramp there.
Well, let's look that on that.
We can look at it specifically, but if somebody's got a ramp authorized with a license, that ramp permit, that activity is allowed to be there. So we're not going to make that ramp holder adhere to a buffer for your permit. So that parking lot and everything, that can still be there, and that ramp can be there.
We have 15 grandchildren, and my concern, I'm not, they're great. My concern is snakes, and I can appreciate you wanting to take care of the lake. I expect you to. I'm gonna live here till I die. I'm not going back to Texas. But my concern is for my 15 little ones, those ones 3, and walking down through that 6-foot path full of weeds scares me a lot.
I understand that. I really do. I live on a golf course. It's got 7 or 8 of the biggest ponds you've ever seen, and I'm on the homeowners board, and we have the very same concerns. These ponds attract the natural flora, fauna, and insects, and snakes, and muskrats, and beavers, and all the things you all see, the skunks. It's a reality of living on the lake or anywhere near your body water. It is naturally occurring. Even if you scout mowed it for years and years and years, that you actually made a very good snake hunting ground because they mainly eat rodents and insects.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, you can see the truth. I get that. But there is no answer to that. That's just part of and the raccoons are in your trash and in your gardens and everything else. Somebody else, sir.
The handwritten path thing is footpath only? You can't run a golf cart on it?
You're allowed to improve pathways as well. That's allowed in our shoreline management plan. Improved pathways. Yeah, that's still allowed.
Those docks, and there's thousands of them out there on this lake.
Well, I understand the pathway that we used in the past, like I say, maintained, is that I just drug it occasionally with a tractor with poor permission. Is that still possible?
Improved pathways are still possible.
Okay. And they're okay to have a golf cart.
If you want, this is a sidebar on golf carts. Technically, under Title 36, golf carts aren't allowed on government property. Okay? My staff of 11 can't go chase those few thousand golf carts on Lake Eufaula. Okay, that's just not feasible. I choose not to do that. But the technical answer to your question is golf carts are not allowed on government property under Title 36.
Except with the permit.
Except for this permit, it can't.
Medically authorized permit. We've had the same issue. Colonel Pratt was at a meeting at Lake Texoma on mainly the golf carts. There were over 300 people there on the golf cart issues, both pro and con. The ones that say it's so hard on the erosion, so hard on the grass, and those like yourself, sir, where you need help getting to and from the dock. So we're trying to find the balance, and the only real rational to do that is to see your permit to do that. That way the kids aren't out there in that, 80-mile-an-hour Razor with cleated tires on it, and we've seen it with a handicap permit hanging there. Well, this is my dad's. He said I could use it. So it gets like a piece of chewing gum you can't spit out. You can never find the real answer to control it. So.
why you were doing that, was allowed, why you were doing this vegetation and everything growing up. Not one thing was said in there about improving the water. It was all about the wildlife.
Right, and the part that is improving water is in the EIS that we did. And unfortunately, that document's very, it's very big, it's 1,200 pages thick.
It's thick. We brought copies back.
We brought a copy of it, we'll be able to help you show you exactly.
light reading at night?
I suspect you guys get to read it all the time.
Sir?
So if you're leaning on the golf cart, are you gonna be stern on the boat docks, or are you gonna be leaning on them too?
I refuse to answer that question. You know the answer. The docks are much easier to work with than the, irresponsible use of Jeeps, four-wheelers, dirt bikes.
We try to
Dirt bikes
address
have to work.
vehicles, ATVs, UTVs, and golf carts are just a difficult thing. There's just too many of them, we can't, that's just not a reasonable thing for us to even try
But
to.
I'd point something out, because Jeff said, whether we agree with it or not, by the regulations we've been given to manage.
Who did we talk to get those regulations?
By those regulations, as far as, can you allow it? No. It's not a big issue until it becomes an issue. And many of us, they're not worked around here, don't work too much other ways, right? Jeff's guys may not be out there looking, for the golf carts as a big issue. Where we get into a bind is sometimes when all of a sudden, for someone's neighbor, that becomes an issue for them, and then they call us. At that point, they're kind of where you got to deal with it. That's a touchy situation.
Anything of general nature here before we break into our groups at the back? Penny?
One more question. Our federal advisory committee that has been in the works for several years that will help manage this lake, what is the status of our federal advisory committees right now?
It's still in the staffing process. It is moving. We talked about it a little bit at dinner. And we have a letter from the Senator's office to the Secretary, the Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works, asking specifically about that. But it's been moving between our folks in headquarters and the district asking certain questions for the last several months. So I can't tell you I have the document signed in my hand, but we are working it. We're monitoring closely. And I can't speak to what it was before I got here about 18 months ago, but we are closely monitoring, and questions have gone back and forth. And I'd like to think that we'll have something sooner than later. What that date is, I don't know, don't pin me on that one, but we are tracking.
Who will be on that board? Will that be strict government, or will you have citizens?
No, there'll be citizens represented. We do one down at Lake Texoma, and I got to think that it'll probably be similar to that. But certainly the Corps sits on it. We do have folks from Southwestern Power Administration. We do have folks from SPRA who represent the hydropower. We do have Oklahoma Department of Water, Wildlife and Conservation, ODEQ. We've got folks that come in from OU that sit on that. Who else? There's a bunch of folks. The Lake Texoma Association is represented. They usually have 3 or 4 folks there. But that one is about 25 to 30 folks. And I think the federal folks are like myself, and usually Earl's there. And we usually do have the lake manager that sits there, and then the folks from Southwestern Power. I got to think that would be the same federal folks. I guess we have National Weather Service that comes in, updates folks. And they talk a lot about lake eutrophication. That's what all this buffer zone is, really to try and slow down the aging of the lake. And they have that on lots of core lakes, trying to give every lake that the Corps is responsible up to the same standard as, this lake is one, I think, in a step of process. But one of our lakes, they're going through extreme measures trying to increase the water quality because they've got so much nutrients that are just going into the lake from all different sources. And so I think it's very real. Having that buffer zone is important. I read the plan. There is specifics on how to get a path, what you can put on that path. Don't drive Jeeps down there, but it does talk about you can use golf carts to take stuff back and forth. And so we're reasonable. You know, if your path is as wide as this room, then we'll probably say, well, that's probably not reasonable. But if it's, you know, as wide as your golf cart and maybe a foot or two on either side, and that's what you're maintaining, that's reasonable. And I think the range will be reasonable as they're out there enforcing those things.
We can, sorry.
I guess the only thing, you know, we do owe you an answer on the 45-foot. I haven't found that answer, and we'll figure that
I
out.
think the paragraph you just read, it was on a piece of paper he had, but it's not the June 5th, it's not the June 17th, whatever you have. This is April, what came off your website. Wait, by the way, this meeting was not on the Corps of Engineer website.
Because it's hosted by Save Our Water, it's not a Corps of Engineers meeting. It's hosted by Save Our Water, we made that really clear in all our public announcements. It's a Save Our Water meeting, and we invited the Corps of Engineers because so many people had expressed concern to us. So it's not a Corps of Engineer meeting, this is Save Our Water meeting.
Michael, can we break into groups?
No, I appreciate y'all having us here. We met with the Corps last week, and one of the things we did bring up was the advisory committee. My boss was really eager to see that move along sooner rather than later. So I think we're going to be working with the colonel, we're working with the staff to ensure that happens, hopefully by the end of this year. It's something that we laid out 4 primary objectives, and that was one of them. We want to see that happen. The one thing that I think my boss wanted me to pass along is we do appreciate the new shoreline management. We understand it's needed. However, we don't see the need to write rules if we're not going to enforce them. So if we're going to write rules about golf carts, they need to be with the intention to enforce the rules. Not, and I think that's when we make the decisions happen, miscommunication between some folks being enforced and some folks not. So if we're going to write rules with trash, we're going to write rules with golf carts, we enforce them equally. If we don't have the intentions or the ability to, then we probably shouldn't be writing the rules. So that's all.
Rick Burns. Thanks, sir.
Appreciate that.
One more. We're going to break up.
You made a statement a while ago that there's the water that comes in from the Deep Fork, North Fork, whatever it is, it's a different association, a different group of people that is over that water that's coming into us, that's coming in. It's a state.
Oklahoma Water Resources.
Okay, so who do we need to start working with or sending our complaints to? That gentleman? Okay, but I'm just saying, to get them to start working on that?
Well, it's actually the Oklahoma Water Resources.
Oklahoma Water Resources Board, we're classing out in Oklahoma City, because they have a Department of Environmental Quality. We're going to do with. We're going to do with golf carts.
Well, yeah, but what defines a golf cart?
Well, let's not get into the forfeiture schedule for that. As Michael said back there, we want to take a common sense approach within the guidelines and rules of what we've already done here. We're not on a witch mission, believe me, to go out there and write tickets. That makes no sense. One of the things I really like, this is everyone's lake, and your lake, and my lake, but some of these subdivisions, you know, it would help, like in a lot of homeowners associations, because you have one too, sir, you know, self-policing. Spread the word throughout your for those weekenders. We don't have golf carts and four-wheelers and dirt bikes allowed down on the shoreline, climbing up and down. We don't have kids running through there at 80. That's one of the best things, and that is fabulous. As 10 of us, there's not enough to go through 250 subdivisions. But that's a good starting place. Self-police. And just respect the environment.
If folks are not following the rules, let us know, and we will enforce that. I mean, that's what we're here to do.
And sometimes it just takes one or two rangers sitting over there and escort the kids. Just a lot of times it's kids up to the parents' house, and you can change the whole behavior that way. That's what we want to do, is change the behavior, not fine them. It makes no sense to do that. Promise one last one, and our tables are marked with little placards of the topics we can talk about back there. Man, your last one.
But I'm just wondering about the level.
when it rains.